There are places on this earth that wear their warnings like a shroud. They don't whisper caution, they scream it into the wind. If your dig site looks less like an archaeological endeavor and more like a sealed nightmare, you're standing on a warning sign. The air itself feels ancient, heavy with the dust of forgotten millennia and the unspoken dread of those who came before. Every gust of wind seems to carry a story, a fragment of a lament from a time long past. This isn't just an excavation, it's a violation of a long-held peace, a disturbance of something that has been deliberately, and perhaps wisely, left alone. The very ground beneath your feet feels fragile, as if you're walking on the thin crust of a world that should have remained buried. If your map bleeds into legend, you're in forbidden ground. Ours didn't just bleed, it was born from it. Pieced together from fragments of sailors' myths, whispers in forgotten dialects, and a single, scorched papyrus scroll purchased in a dusty Cairo bazaar. It pointed to a place cartographers had dismissed as a magnetic anomaly, a blank spot on the globe they called the Silent Valley. Legends called it something else, the Mouth of Oblivion. They spoke of a king so consumed by grief and rage that he defied the gods, building a final resting place not to honor the dead, but to imprison a sorrow so vast it could swallow the sun. The map was less a guide and more a dare, a puzzle box of celestial alignments and geographic riddles that had taken us years to decipher. Each solved clue felt like a victory, but also like we were turning a key in a lock we had no right to touch. 7 AYO Brol Shot Group, Group 3. Distribute equally. We weren't the first to be tempted. The valley's silence is filled with the ghosts of those who tried. The 1924 British expedition, lost to a sandstorm that appeared from a cloudless sky. The 1978 Geological Survey team, whose equipment failed catastrophically within a 1-mile radius of the site, their last radio transmission a garbled cry about the ground singing. Local Bedouin tribes, our guides to the edge of the valley, would go no further. They spoke of their grandfathers' grandfathers, who told stories of a darkness that leaks from the rock, a place that steals your voice and then your soul. They made a sign of protection and turned back, leaving us to face the valley's curse alone. Their warnings were not born of superstition, but of generational memory, a history written in loss. Our own preparations were a study in contradiction. We brought the pinnacle of modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, magnetometers, satellite phones. We also brought bundles of sage and iron amulets, gifts from a concerned elder in a village miles away. A concession to superstition? Perhaps. Or perhaps it was a quiet admission that there are forces our science has yet to name. The debate raged every night in the base camp. Dr. Eris Thorne, our lead historian, argued for preservation, for leaving the site untouched. He saw it as a unique cultural artifact, a place whose power lay in its mystery. Dr. Lena Petrova, our chief archaeologist, saw it as a duty to uncover, to understand, to bring the truth, whatever it may be, into the light. The rest of us were caught in the middle, our scientific curiosity wrestling with a primal, instinctual fear. The descent began. The entrance wasn't grand. It was a crack in the earth, a wound in the stone, barely wide enough for a person to slip through. The air changed instantly. It grew cold, still, and unnervingly dry. The silence was the first true obstacle. It wasn't just an absence of noise. It was a presence. A heavy, suffocating blanket that muffled our footsteps and seemed to swallow our breath the moment it left our lips. We communicated with hand signals, the sound of our own voices feeling like a sacrilege. The corridors didn't follow any known architectural logic. They twisted and turned, sometimes narrowing to a crawl space, other times opening into small, empty chambers that seemed to serve no purpose but to disorient and confuse. There were no traps of the kind you see in movies, no poison darts or rolling boulders. The trap was the place itself. The oppressive silence, the disorienting geometry, the feeling of being slowly digested by the earth. Then, the lights began to fail. If every torch goes cold, you're staring at a curse. It started with the backup generator for our main lamps, which sputtered and died without explanation. We switched to battery-powered LEDs. Their beams grew weak, flickering as if the batteries were being drained by an unseen force. Finally, we resorted to old-fashioned chemical flares and torches. One by one, they too were extinguished. A flare would hiss, its brilliant magnesium light shrinking to a pale, sickly glow before dying. A torch flame would dance wildly, then shrink, pulling back into the wick as if terrified of the surrounding dark. It wasn't a lack of oxygen. Our sensors confirmed the air was stale but breathable. It was something else, a coldness that didn't just chill the skin, but seemed to actively consume heat and light. We were left in a near-total darkness, punctuated only by the thin, desperate beams of our headlamps. We found carved warnings. They covered the walls leading to the final chamber, not hieroglyphs, not cuneiform, nothing we recognized. The script was fluid, aggressive, etched into the stone with a terrifying precision. Thorn, his voice a strained whisper, began a preliminary translation. The symbols didn't form words as much as concepts. Imprisoned grief, devouring star, silence eternal. One recurring glyph was particularly unsettling, a spiral turning endlessly inward, a visual representation of a descent with no return. Below it, a sequence of images, a figure kneeling, clutching its head, the sky cracking like glass, and a great dark shape, neither animal nor human, being sealed behind a door. It wasn't a story. It was a containment protocol, a desperate attempt by an ancient people to wall off a sorrow so profound it had become a physical, malevolent entity. The curse wasn't meant to keep intruders out. It was meant to keep something in. We found shattered tools. The final door was a single, seamless slab of obsidian-like stone. It absorbed all light, cool and absolute. Our modern equipment was useless against it. The diamond-tipped drill bits, designed to cut through solid granite, shattered on contact, the sound shockingly loud in the oppressive quiet. The micro-explosive charges we set failed to detonate, their electronic triggers dead. It was as if the laws of physics were fraying at the edges. We found the remnants of other attempts too. The rusted head of a 1920s pickaxe, its tip blunted. The splintered handle of a sledgehammer, all broken, all discarded. We were just the latest in a long line of failures, our hubris meeting the same impassive, unyielding surface. The tomb wasn't just sealed. It was protected by a force that rejected our tools, our science, our very presence. We found a silence that felt watched. This was the hardest part to explain and the most difficult to endure. The feeling of being observed. You'd turn, certain someone was standing right behind you, only to find empty, suffocating darkness. You'd see movement in the corner of your eye, a flicker of shadow that vanished when you looked directly at it. The silence itself seemed to listen, to analyze. It wasn't empty. It was full of a patient, ancient, and deeply intelligent malevolence. It was a hunter's silence. We had walked into its lair, and it was simply waiting. Waiting for our lights to die. Waiting for our hope to curdle into terror. Waiting for us to make one final, fatal mistake. Experts call it too dangerous to open. The argument at the threshold of that final door was the culmination of all our fears. This is not a tomb, it's a prison. Thorne's voice was hoarse, desperate. These carvings are a final warning from the builders. Whatever is in there, they sacrificed their own history to contain it. We have no right. Petrova was unmoved, her face set like stone. We have a duty to know. Humanity didn't get this far by shying away from the dark. This could be the single greatest discovery in human history. We can't turn back now, not when we're this close. She pointed to the door. The answer is in there. But the rest of us, we looked at the broken tools. We remembered the suffocating silence, and we saw not a prize, but a Pandora's box. That's when curiosity turns into survival. The shift is palpable. It's the moment the thrill of discovery is replaced by the cold, hard calculus of staying alive. The academic debate dies, and a primal instinct takes over. Your focus narrows. The potential for fame, for knowledge, for history, it all evaporates, replaced by a single burning question: how do we get out? The air grows thick, your breathing tightens, and every shadow becomes a threat. The tomb is no longer a puzzle to be solved. It's a predator, and you are its prey. You are no longer an explorer. You are a survivor. And survival meant admitting defeat. It meant listening to the warnings we had so arrogantly ignored. We made our choice. We turned back. We left the silence to its vigil and the darkness to its prisoner. Some called it cowardice, others wisdom. We sealed the entrance, reported the site as geologically unstable, and buried the map in the deepest archives we could find. We left the mouth of oblivion to its legend. But you never truly leave a place like that. It leaves a mark on you, a cold spot in your soul that never quite thaws. So think twice before poking the past. Some doors are closed for a reason. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. And some things are better left buried, sleeping in the deep, dark, silent earth.